I want to be under the bright lights. I want to be on the Broadway stage.
Tiger Rag Radio is on now.
Welcome back to the second hour of Tiger Rag Radio. Jeff Palermo along with the executive editor for Tiger Rag Magazine, Todd Horn, and the editor, Glenn Guilbeau. Special guest here joining us on the Max Home Hotline from CBSSports.com. It's Dennis Dodd. Dennis, how you doing tonight?
I am great. How are you guys?
We're doing well. We're doing well.
Hey, Dennis, Glenn Guilbeau here. The SEC has done a lot of beating each other up this season. Do you think it's, they could be a bad conference and be beating each other? They could be a great conference and beating each other. Where do you see it this year?
Well, there's a little bit of hypocrisy going on here. When the Pac-12 was eating its own in its last few years, everybody had 2 losses by November 1st in general. That's not what's happened here, but you know what I'm saying. It was a mediocre conference. You take last year, you roll in this year, and I think there's been some slippage, especially based on Saturday's results, where you had 3 teams basically drop out of CFP contention. Never say never, but there's been some slippage, and there could be some national damage done if, say, a Texas A&M beats Texas and then beats Georgia in the championship game. You'd have a 3-loss SEC champion playing in the playoffs, and then who knows how many teams they get in at that point.
Yeah, and it's funny with the losses this past weekend. Texas A&M lost to Auburn. Ole Miss lost to Florida, and Alabama lost to Oklahoma. And just reading the stories on them, the AP story said Ole Miss was out of it. The AP story said A&M was out of it, but they said Alabama's not out of it, and they have the same record. And Alabama has a loss to a 5-loss Oklahoma team that's 2-5 in the SEC and got killed by them. And they also have a loss to a 5-loss Vanderbilt team. Do you think Alabama is going to somehow get in the playoffs?
I would never say never about any of those 3 teams, and I'll tell you why. This playoff predictor thing on ESPN, I think it does a massive disservice to the viewers. How in the world do they get inside the minds of those 13 people in the selection committee? I mean, I don't get it. Yeah, I think you can make some generalities when you have 3 losses. But what was the talk going into last week? That Indiana, if they get blown out, they have no chance by certain people. Not me, but certain people. They don't deserve to be in with that schedule. Well, look what happened. The teams that had to step up didn't. Indiana, indeed, got blown out, I would say, by 23 points.
But they played well early. They played well early,
they got
blown
hang
out.
at halftime. It was 14-7. In fact, I tweeted at halftime, Indiana just clinched a playoff spot. Who's with me?
And I said I was.
And
then they got killed.
Yeah, then they got worked. But at the end of the day, with all the teams we're talking about, the team that was most credible to be in the playoff right now is Indiana, not those 3 SEC teams. And in answer to your question, I don't know. I guess in general, Alabama perhaps has the best chance. If they can beat Auburn, they will have that Georgia win on their record. But boy, that Oklahoma thing was just a turd in a punch bowl. If you excuse my language, I haven't seen Alabama look that bad in years.
Yeah, that might be one of the worst teams record-wise that they've lost to in years. I want to say maybe when they lost to Louisiana Monroe in
it had to be 07.
Yeah,
it had to be 07 in that game. Yeah, and I don't know how Louisiana Monroe ended up then, but they were, I think, in 07.
Doesn't matter, really.
Sun Belt team doesn't matter.
Yeah. Talking to Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports here on Tiger Rag Radio. Talking about hypocrisy, Dennis, I always find it funny that when fans or media cling to how tough a schedule is, okay, you can have a tough schedule, but you have to beat the teams on that schedule to get credit for having a tough schedule. And if you got 3 losses or 4 losses like some of these SEC teams, it doesn't matter if your schedule's tough. Whereas if you're Indiana, okay, you got an easier schedule, but you only got 1 loss. So nobody, so all you can do is beat the teams on your schedule if you have an easy schedule. And it's funny that's been Alabama's season quite a bit back in the day when they won the 92 championship. They didn't beat anybody until they beat Miami. So you never know until the end. It's just kind of funny.
Well, two things on that. We have reached this point in conference realignment where these conferences are so big that you literally don't play half the teams in your league. And that's the case in the Big Ten and the SEC and the Big 12 as well in the ACC. So from year to year, the schedules are kind of a crapshoot. And so the second thing I would say about Indiana is that nobody in July was talking about how tough Indiana's schedule was. First of all, they weren't very good. They were 3-9 last year. Second of all, on its face, they were playing Ohio State, Michigan, who just won the national championship, and Washington, who was in that game and lost to Michigan. That's a pretty representative schedule to me. Now, it's not Indiana's fault that Michigan's down, Washington's down. As you said, they played Ohio State representative for a half. So at that point, it becomes, are we really at the point where in a major college football that a team that has lost 3 games, which is 2 more than another team in a major conference, is better? Can you say that with a straight face? I don't think you can, especially with what happened here.
And the teams Alabama lost to, in their case, not that good.
Yeah, no. The Vandy loss was bad then. It's bad now. It's certainly not a credit. The optics are terrible. So yeah, it's bad. And then Ole Miss, for all the mouth running that Lane wants about having to play in the championship game, he doesn't have to worry about that now. And I don't know what to say about A&M. I'll say this: this A&M Texas game this week, Glenn, is probably the biggest one in that series ever. I've been talking to people about it, and not just because A&M lost to set this up, but they played 119 times, and in none of those games was there a national championship at stake, a playoff at stake, or a conference title at stake, all at the same time. They were in the same league together in the Southwest Conference, but nothing like this. I think it's the biggest game they've ever played.
Hi, I'm Mike Munderland, and we're here to smash the capital city's trash.
Smash My Trash is a revolutionary compactor for large dumpsters, sometimes reducing the volume of waste by up to 70%. This means fewer hauls per month and big savings for your business. Fewer hauls and compacted waste will also result in a positive impact on our community and our environment by taking up less space in our local landfill sites. Schedule your company's free demo today. Call 225-497-0101.
Trains are everywhere. You should always expect one, even on private property. Only cross tracks at designated crossings that fit your equipment. If you don't fit, don't commit. Look, listen, live.
Hey, Dennis, do you this being the first year of the expanded playoff, they're already talking about expanding it again after next season. Do you think they're maybe putting the cart before the horse here? Are they sacrificing the quality of the playoffs by adding these many teams if there's that much mediocrity this year?
I wrote that this week that like right now it looks too big for itself. Like there aren't 12 quality teams you can come up with to put in there, to the point we're having this discussion about these 3, which of these SEC teams that we're talking about, these 3 are going to get in, if any. I just don't think there's very much quality teams. And you talked about the fact that I think they're going to use this as an excuse to expand to 16, and I think it's going to come pretty quickly, probably early next year, beginning in 26, I should say, because these teams didn't get in. But that's going to, if you add 4 more teams to this, that's going to be a lot of slop, and one of them's probably going to have to be a group of 5 team, maybe not. One of them is now. And so then you're talking about 3 more teams, and so then you're literally talking about from the SEC or Big Ten 4 lost teams getting in. I don't think there's any question about it.
Talking with Dennis Dodd here on the Max Home Hotline from CBSSports.com. I know, Dennis, you're making the argument that a 3-loss SEC team doesn't deserve to get in over a 1-loss Big Ten team. But what happens if South Carolina beats Clemson this Saturday? I mean, how pivotal would that be in this whole puzzle?
That's the question. I think that's one of the biggest questions of the weekend. Can they get into consideration in the top 12? The problem is that Clemson's only one spot ahead of them at 17. So it's not like they're number 4 or something like that. So and Carolina's 18. They would have to have, a lot of teams lose in front of them. Colorado could happen. A&M could happen. BYU could happen. SMU has clinched, but that doesn't mean they can't jump them. Boise State has to beat Oregon State at home on Friday to get to – they're already in the Mountain West Championship game, but to hold their spot in the playoff. So those teams I mentioned, all possible, could jump up in there. I guess we need the playoff predictor now, guys, to tell us what South Carolina's chances are. But, no, I think that's one of the biggest questions of this final weekend. What if South Carolina wins? And I don't know. That's my answer. I don't know.
Dennis, where were you? Where were your opinions before the 12-team playoff? Did you think, hey, we need to keep it at 4 because? And I understand you're saying we can't find 12 really good teams, but do you feel like this is still? I mean, one of the arguments against the 12-team playoff was, well, it's going to make the regular season irrelevant, based on all the upsets we saw and how there was a chain reaction around the country. Do you still feel that way, that it's made the regular season a bit irrelevant?
No, I loved it before. I wasn't one of those people that when this is instigated, this will make games for seeding players opt out of the playoff. I wasn't one of those people. I thought it'd be great. I think it'd be great now. I'm just saying right now it doesn't look very good. The quality of teams, and it's a reflection of the season. There's been a lot of parity this season. But I think it was great before. I think it's great now. I wrote something on Halloween, the day before November 1st. I said on November 1st, I counted it up. I went and counted every possibility. There were 45 or 50 teams that had a chance to get in if they took care of business. And I checked it with 3 of the 4 architects of the playoff. I wasn't able to get a hold of Greg Sankey. I got Jack Swarbrick at Notre Dame, Bob Bowlesby, former Big 12 commissioner, and Craig Thompson, former Mountain West commissioner. Those 4 guys modeled this. And I said, what do you think of that assertion? He said, it sounds about right. That's what they were saying. That's what they were telling the presidents when they were trying to sell this thing back in 2019 and 20. And so I loved it. And we're having this conversation about South Carolina now. I love the way it's finished. I love the fact that the best team in the Big 12 might not even go to a bowl. That's Kansas, and may have knocked Colorado out. It would have been a meaningless game in a 14 playoff. So no, I think in general, I think it's just been fantastic.
One quick question for you, based on how it's gone for the SEC this year. In my opinion, I don't think they're going to be rushing to a 9-game league schedule. Do you?
No. That's a great point, because they wanted to wait and see before doing this exactly what we're talking about. What would be the attrition in the playoff before we go asking for automatic qualifiers again, which I think they're going to try to do again anyway. But you have to understand, with a 9th conference game, that's going to put half the league in line for another loss and to get knocked out of this playoff. Now, is every season going to have as much parity in the SEC as there has been this year? Probably not. You want it to be top heavy. You want your best teams to be your best teams. But yeah, I agree. I think they have some soul searching to do, and it's been a while, right? I think it's been 3 straight SEC meetings, Glenn and Destin, that we've been talking about this, and clearly they want to get paid by ESPN a proper amount to add that content. But they also want to see how it impacts, I think, what we're talking about, their entree into the playoff.
Yeah, and it's hypocritical. They like to bill themselves as the NFL of college football.
Yes.
But oh wait, we can't go to nine games. We might lose a 4th game. We got to take care of ourselves. So it is kind of I think it's an off season for the SEC. I really do.
Yep. Well, off 2 seasons, since they didn't win a championship for the first time, and I can't remember since what year was that they didn't win. The Michigan won. This was the last time the SEC didn't win a national championship. It may not this year. Again, is there a clear favorite? Maybe Oregon, but they're untested in terms of that, I think. Ohio State, I don't think their offensive line as constructed can hold up over 3 or 4 games, so we'll see.
And the only SEC team with one loss is the newbie, Texas.
is Texas. And I having seen them, let's see now, twice, I don't think they're all that. I think they're really good.
Easier
but
schedule.
They really got exposed by Georgia.
They did. They did.
And I'm not a big Quinn Ewers guy. I'm sorry. I think he's really good. I think their best quarterback's on the bench, and Arch, but he just doesn't have the experience, and they aren't going to play him. But if they had to, I think they'd be okay.
Dennis, we got to run. Thanks a lot for your time tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dennis.
All right, thanks, guys.
It's time to start betting on yourself. Louisiana 988 can help if you're dealing with tough emotions caused by gambling habits. You can share as much or as little as you want, and it's completely confidential. It's free, available 24/7, and most people who reach out report feeling better right in the moment. Call or text 988 anytime.
Get ready to make some noise this October with the East Baton Rouge Parish Library. Join us for the 11th Annual Baton Rouge Maker Fair on October 19th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., where creativity and music come together. From live performances to hands-on workshops, there's fun with a beat for everyone. Visit batonrouge.makerfair.com for details. Brought to you by your East Baton Rouge Parish Library, where creativity never stops.